Monday, April the 19th, 2021. Mr. Mike Cogdell is excused from the meeting tonight, and Dr. Oakfield Ungoing is with us. Cameron, you mind leading us in prayer?
I'm rolling the boy, but I'll give it. I'm asking for it, concrete for you. Lord, we again thank you. You're so good to us. You bless us. I pray tonight it might be a blessing to one another, and that we might truly conduct the business of this county in a way that would please you, represent the citizens well. Thank you for every person that makes up this county, especially those that serve us day in and day out. In Jesus' name.
Martin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the consent item. So moved. Second Gillespie, second by Mr. Britt. Is that you?
Yes.
Any discussion? Ms. Marie.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Ron
Yes.
Okay. Individual delegation wish to address the commissioners? No one's signed up. Matters of interest to commissioners? Anyone have anything? Special recognition, employees of years of service. Vanessa Sanchez, DSS 5 years. 10. Angela Green, DSS 15 years. David Howe, EMS 15 years. Adam Nobles, Environmental Health 15 years. Andrew Powell, Sheriff's Office 10 years. Kendall Kelly, Sheriff's Office 15 years. And Dalphine Jenkins, Building Inspection 25 years. So we want to thank these employees for their years of service and dedication to Bladen County citizens.
Mr. Chairman, we still give them that token that we normally give them?
And a certificate and a check.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, item 6 is Finance Office Department. Ms. Lisa.
Good evening to each of you. Hope you're all doing well.
And Miss, you might need to move up. So
You can't hear me?
I can hear you. Miss Dr. Ophelia.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. Like to review the dashboard for 9 months ending March 31st of 2021. At the end of March, we had collected revenues of 81.87% of the budget, and we had spent 69.02%. On solid waste, we had collected 93.95% and spent 68.43%. The emergency telephone has collected 30.24% and spent 16%. And water had collected almost 75% and spent 44%. Any questions on that before I go over the Sheriff's Department? Okay, on the federal inmate program, to date we have over-collected what we had budgeted by $362,535, and we're still on track to bring in about $512 if it's continuing on the same projection. Any questions on that? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Health Department, Dr. Terry Duncan.
So our first item tonight is the update regarding the 2021 Community Health Assessment. And every 3 years, the hospital is required to do a community health assessment. Every 4 years, the health department is required to do one. So we combine resources and do one every 3 years. With 33,000 people, we'd like to have at least 10% of the county recognized, but the goal is set pretty low, 350 surveys that we need done. Currently, right now, we 1,500 plus and meet that 1,000, but I need your help, we need your help. And the community health assessment is an indicator of the county health issues and health priorities, and it helps guide projects and programs that will be carried in across the next 3 years. The community health assessment is referred to many times when we apply for grants and opportunities for funding. So I have given you a Q code, and it's very simple to use the Q code. You just use your camera, scan it. Takes about 4 to 5 minutes to complete it on the phone. And additionally, I have given you a written copy. We do have it available in Spanish as well. The links are posted on our Facebook page to the written documents as well as the Q codes. We're taking advantage of our 15-minute wait period with our COVID vaccines and asking people. We think that's why we've got about 100 in the last few days. So please ask your friends, your family, your neighbors, your constituents, church members, anybody that you can get that will complete this survey for us. The more we have, the better.
How are your responses looking now for this survey?
We know that we have a little over 100. As far as seeing the responses, we won't get that until months later. So the next item is to consider approving the 2022 consolidated agreement with North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Britt, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Bullock. Any discussion? Ms. Murray?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill? Dr. Mungowens?
Yes.
Item number C is consider approving Amendment 1 to the fiscal 22 consolidated agreement with North Carolina Health and Human Services.
I so moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bullock, seconded by Mr. Britt. Any discussion? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Mungowens?
Yes.
And in accordance with our finance policy, item D is to consider approving the 2021 bad debt write-off.
Is there a motion?
Make
Mr. Britt?
Approved.
Mr. Britt?
Second.
Made the motion, Dr. Duffield going seconded. Any discussion? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Mungowens?
Yes.
And item E is to consider approving the medical service agreement with East Coast Migrant Head Start, which will allow us to vaccinate the children there who are in the vaccine.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Britt, seconded by Mr. Bullock. Any discussion? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill? Dr. Mungowens?
Yes.
Yep.
And then lastly, the COVID update. As of today, in North Carolina, we had 949,366 positive cases with 12,418 deaths. We had 900,174 recovered as of last Monday. I did get results before I left for this Monday. Currently hospitalized 1,096 in North Carolina with 6.8% positivity rate. For Bladen County, we have 3,168 positives as of today with 41 deaths, 3,080 recovered, 2 hospitalized, and a 6.4% positivity. I think 9 days out of 19 we've had greater than a 6% positivity this month, and the rest was under that. We're beginning to increase just a little bit after the Easter holiday, as pretty close to one for all of our adult citizens in Bladen County and some children as well. Our positivity, I'm pleased with the point that we are at this point. The age of our residents that are contracting COVID now, the vaccine is working. That age 65 and above is decreasing in positivity. The group that's increasing a little bit is at 25 to 49. And while they are open for vaccination, they're a little less likely to get the vaccination than what we're seeing so far. The females continue to have a higher positivity rate of 54.1% and males at 45.5%, African American at 25.4%, Caucasian 47.6%, and Hispanic 15.1%, non-Hispanic 65.4% with 19 unknowns, almost a quarter unknown. When we look at the number that we have vaccinated, today we had 308 second doses scheduled. We had 30 no-shows or cancellations, so right at a 10% cancellation rate. We're seeing on any given day a 5 to 10% in second doses, and we have seen as high as a 20% no-show on first doses. You know that Johnson & Johnson has been paused, and thankfully the adverse reaction reporting did pick up on that appropriately. You may have heard on the media, and it is true that there were 6 women ages 18 to 48, I think it was, that contracted a very rare blood clotting disorder on day 3 to day 13 following the Johnson & Johnson. As a precaution, it was paused to look at it more in depth and find out if there were any underlying conditions or causes. And another reason that they needed to pause it is for blood clotting disorders, one of the main medicines that's given is heparin, and for this rare disease, you're not supposed to get heparin. So we wanted to get that out to the medical profession and let them know how to appropriately treat it. They're expected to meet again on this Friday, and it is expected that they will continue with the J&J vaccine, at least in some form. There may be some recommendations that you don't do it in a certain age group, but we just don't know yet. So where are we as far as vaccinating our population? As of today, 26.7% of the total population of Bladen County have received at least an initial vaccine, and 21.5% of the population have received the second one. And that compares to our neighboring counties. The next highest is Sampson at 25.9 and 19.3 respectively, Columbus County at 24.1 and 19.8, and Robinson at 19 and 15.1. If you take out the 18 and under, which is about 8,000 of our population, we're looking at about 34.8% that have received an initial vaccination.
So why do you think, Dr. Duncan, what are you hearing the biggest reason why people are canceling after scheduling that for?
I really don't have an idea of that.
So what happens to the ones that cancel the second doses? I mean, is there going to be attempts to reschedule? Do they need the second dose, or?
There is some thought, there hasn't come out with the recommendation yet, but for folks that have already been positive with COVID, that they only need an initial vaccine, but it hasn't been put in writing yet. There's discussion in the medical community. As far as the second dose, you can receive the second dose up to 42 days later. We have started calling people, and even the day that we had 20 out of 100 initial doses, we had called all 100 the day before, and they said they were coming.
What do you think, fear factor, Terry? I mean, like it just seems like, a lot of articles, written about just,
Well, that particular day, it was the Thursday before Easter. So I thought, well, maybe people were afraid that they would have some side effects, but we're continuing to see. I think there is a little bit of a fear factor, and some folks that wanted J&J now don't want anything. We did look at how many of our clients that were calling wanted J&J, and over a 2-week period, we only had 8.
Dr. Duncan, those cancellations, are they on the initial shot or the second one?
Some of both.
So when they cancel, could you ask them, may I ask you why?
Well, we have asked them, could we reschedule them? And sometimes they'll say, well, I have a doctor's appointment and I want to check with my doctor on the second one. Or I'm going out of town and kind of schedule another day. It's a little more easy to schedule,
I didn't
but
quite ask you.
as far as,
I mean, could you just ask them, may I ask you why you don't want to take it, or you don't want to take the second?
we can.
I mean, that might be a good day. Okay. So there's a talk about getting a booster in a year. Have you got any information on that?
Pfizer's already working on a booster. Moderna is unable to get the small vials, and it's difficult now with the 10 doses. If we open vial, we need to try to get all 10 of those in the arm. And they're going to a 14 or a 15 dose vial versus a smaller dose, because the smaller vials are just not available.
Did you say how many was in the hospital?
2.
Two. Anybody else? Good job. Keep working hard.
I have one question. Are you seeing repeat cases of people who have had COVID and now testing again? Or even, I guess another question is people that have had the vaccine and that are now testing positive again?
We have seen some of both. The first round that we gave, we have had some that tested positive a few days after they received the first dose. But you gotta remember, they may have been in contact with somebody the 2 days prior to coming to get the dose, and then they would be able to test positive. So you really need to look past 14 days and then past the second. And yes, there are people that have had tested positive greater than 3 months out, and they're considered a second infection.
So, Dr. Duncan, is there any rumors out there if he's gonna lift the executive order or what? It
I've
does,
not heard.
it ends at the end of this month? Or you really have to?
This month.
Okay.
We usually find out about 30 minutes before the general public does.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the next item is advisory board appointees. I've got some recommendations and I'll read them out and just ask for a motion or second, or if anybody else has got another one, just jump right in. But for the bar advisory board, Amber Shoulder has been recommended to replace Faye Collins.
Motion to.
Mr. Gillespie made a motion to approve. Second. Mr. Britt. Any discussion? Mr. Marie?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Mungowens?
yes,
Okay, on the Cape Fear River Assembly, Commissioner Danny Ellis has agreed to replace Daniel Dallas.
Motion to approve?
Mr. Bullock made a motion, seconded by Mr. Britt. Any discussion? Ms. Marie?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Mungowens?
yes,
Okay, the Child Fatality Protection Team, Sheila Berkeley has been recommended to replace Avis Odoms and Assistant District Attorney Alan Adams to replace Quentin McGee.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. McGill made the motion, seconded by Mr. Hester. Any discussion? Ms. Marie?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Mungowens?
yes,
Okay, on the Division of Aging Board, Linda Kroon has been recommended to, I'll have a
Motion to approve?
motion by Mr. Bullock, second by Mr. Hester. Any discussion? Ms.
what's the
Guyton?
name?
Linda Kroon, Ms. Guyton declined. Okay, motion by Mr. Bullock, second by Mr. Hester. Any discussion? Ms. Marie?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Mr. Cockett, excuse me. Dr. Ellis,
Yes.
Mr. Hester,
Yes.
Mr. McGill,
Yes.
Dr. Mongoins,
yes,
Okay, for the List Town Planning and Zoning Commission, Judy Bowens.
Make a motion.
Mr. Britt made the motion, seconded by Mr. Ellis. Any discussion? Ms. Marie? Yes.
Mr. Peterson, thank you. Mr. Gillespie,
Yes.
Mr. Britt,
Yes.
Mr. Bullock,
Yeah.
Dr. Ellis,
Yes.
Mr. Hester,
Yes.
Mr. McGill,
Yes.
Dr. Mongoins,
yes,
On the List Town Rural Fire District, Gordon Kinlaw to replace Basil White, reappoint Bizzle Davis and Woody Lancaster.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Cameron Gill, second by Mr. Hester. Any discussion? Ms. Marie?
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie,
Yes.
Mr. Britt,
Yes.
Mr. Bullock,
Yeah.
Dr. Ellis,
Yes.
Mr. Hester,
Yes.
Mr. McGill,
Yes.
Dr. Mongoins,
yes,
Okay, EMS Advisory Council, Dr. Jason Atkinson to replace Dr. Robert Taylor.
So.
Mr. Gillespie made the motion, second by Mr. Britt. Any discussion? Ms. Marie?
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie,
Yes.
Mr. Britt,
Yes.
Mr. Bullock,
Yeah.
Dr. Ellis,
Yes.
Mr. Hester,
Yes.
Mr. McGill,
Yes.
Dr. Mongoins,
yes,
Okay, thank you. For the May 17th meeting, there's Bay Tree Lakes Fire Department Relief Fund Board 1, Bay Tree Lakes Fire District Committee 1, and the Kelly Water Dyke and Drainage District Committee is 1. So, that's your district, that's your district. Okay. So, Ms. Maria, send that out so we can look who's on there and who's not between now and May 17th. It'll be on the agenda next time for review also. So, Mr. Martin, calendar review.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to review the calendar with you for the remainder of April as well as May. And point out this Thursday, the 22nd, from 10 until 1 at Elizabethtown Baptist Church, there's a stand down for veterans and community leaders. And you all are invited to attend that. On Tuesday, the 27th at 6 p.m., there will be a Municipal and County Association of Bladen meeting at the Town of Clarkson depot building there in Clarkson.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
we can make sure that Joe gets invited there.
I mean, I know it's, and just to let you all know, the representative from ECC Technology who's doing the study for the Lumber River Council of Governments on the broadband study will be the guest speaker. Moving over to May, on Monday the 3rd at 8 a.m., there's a prayer service here. The Board of Equalization Review meets at 6 p.m. and the Board of County Commissioners meets at 6:30. On Thursday the 6th at 12 noon, the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council meeting will be held. That's normally the Back Center. On Monday the 10th at 5 p.m., the Health and Human Services Advisory Board will meet at the Health Department. We'll speak to this special meeting momentarily. On Tuesday the 11th at 6:30, the Substance Use Disorder Task Force meeting will take place at the Lake Community College Auditorium. On Monday the 17th, the board has a regular meeting at 6:30, and then offices are closed in observance of the Memorial Day holiday on Monday the 31st. There are no questions regarding the calendar. Moving to item B, we'd like to request that the board schedule a special meeting regarding the budget, still in the development of the budget, with the goal being to present a proposed budget in mid-May. And a proposed time for your consideration is next Monday, the 26th at 6 p.m.
What's the pleasure of the board? Does that work?
Yes, sir.
What date?
yes, well,
What date was that?
Next Monday, the 26th.
I'm looking, give me 1 second, look at myself, my calendar. The 26th,
Yes, ma'am.
is at 6:30. 26th
So you're saying the 26th is off the table?
Off the table.
Okay.
What's the time frame in May, Greg, Ms. Martin?
I'm sure, well, the item C is to request to cancel that meeting for the 10th, and we'll just deal with that on that regular meeting on the 17th. So the 17th is when we'd like to present the proposed budget.
So we're in the 17th of April, okay. Right. 19th of May.
April, yes, sir.
Okay. Thursday, 22nd.
Good.
What time? Because we have a meeting already with, one of the alliance for the North Carolina Commissioners meeting.
We have a meeting already for the 22nd.
What time is that?
So you said Monday was not an option?
Well, got some people out of town.
Okay, how about, where that sounds good? Thursday, Wednesday, the 28th?
Yes, I'll be.
How about 29? How about 29?
Um,
You might have to move something on your calendar, people.
Well, what about,
29th, Mr. Bull.
not me.
no, I got a focus group meeting that day at 6 o'clock. We can do it on Saturday.
I don't work on
I already have a meeting, I have a meeting already. 24th. 30th.
Is this, I have a question, is this Charles Wright? Is this in lieu, we're trying to hold the larger meeting together, in other words, in lieu of the smaller? Yeah, well, this is one, you know, this,
Do it at 8:30 on the 3rd, that way I come early.
You said it's third.
So what day are you usually off then, Fred?
I'll be there. I mean, I'm gonna make time in my calendar to be quite candid with you, because there's been a lot of chatter about the small meetings, the large meetings. I mean, I'm gonna be at whatever meeting y'all tell me to be at. So that's just kind of my response. I mean,
Well, and not all of us can do that.
I know, and I don't mean that, you know, I don't mean that the way it sounds. I'm just saying, you know, it's, in other words, usually in the evening, I'm gonna, you know,
Mr. Chairman, how does April, did anybody say anything about April the 26th or the 27th?
Yeah, we talked about 26 earlier.
What about the 27th?
That's the week before.
Yeah, sure it is.
What? That morning, the 3rd of May, would that work?
How about this Friday, the 23rd?
23rd.
That's,
I'm good. 23rd.
Be during the day.
What do you mean, like, starting like that morning or the afternoon?
It's better to start early in the morning. Right, what about you?
That'd be good.
What about afternoon?
I'm busy Friday and Saturday afternoon, I'll tell you right now. I mean, that only makes sense to go to the weekend now, come on.
Well, we got to do it on Saturday.
I'll give you the other 5 days, I'll give you any of the 5 days, I'm not scheduling stuff Friday or Saturday evening.
What happened on the 28th then, that Wednesday night? Oh,
We
yeah.
had church.
Got church time then.
Okay, sorry, I apologize.
May the 3rd's already pretty full, but if we just fill it on the rest of the way up, instead of taking another day.
May 3rd equalization start at 6.
So I mean, you know, I don't know how long.
It's really different, I mean, I'm still kind of, was it plain as to share information and seek guidance, so. it's not-
The ones that really need to be worried about is the ones that work on free, like Rodney works and Mark works and Danny works and you
But that's what
and
I'm
Ray.
saying. If it's,
And the rest of us ought to be free to go.
but if it's like an hour, is that what you think? Reed?
That's it.
Okay, let's an hour, instead of adding another day, if you just bumped it on the 3rd of May to 5 o'clock, we're just coming an hour early, and you're not trying to find another whole day where everybody's got to.
You think this thing's gonna be an hour? Because the first session was a couple of
I don't
hours.
believe you do
I
that.
don't know,
I don't believe you do
it
that.
depends on how much,
I don't think we can do
there's
it
about
now.
3 issues
That's
that
why I
we
asked.
try to get some.
That's 4 o'clock's fine,
May 4th.
4 o'clock on the 3rd.
May the 3rd, 4 o'clock.
May 3rd at 4 o'clock.
I'm good.
I can do that.
All right, let's make a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gillespie, second by
May the 3rd.
Mr. Gill. Any discussion? May the 3rd, 4 o'clock. I don't know, let's put this together about 4 hours. Let's put this together about 4 hours. All right, Ms. Marie.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie.
Yes.
Mr. Britt.
Yes.
Mr. Bullock.
Yes.
Dr. Ellis.
Yes.
Mr. Hester. Mr. McGill.
I can get an airplane ride, I'll be here.
Dr. Bungolins.
Okay.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, one more item is request that we cancel those meetings and skip the 10th. That was a conflict in, but if we can deal with that at a regular meeting on the 17th, if that works for you all.
You said it was scheduled for May the 10th?
Yes, yes, sir. It was on the original budget calendar that was adopted back, I think it's February or something.
So, I just thought my 2 cents, I think small groups are good, but it's up to the board what you want to do. You can keep it in place or we cancel. I need a motion one way or the other.
Make a motion, we keep small groups.
Motion by Mr. Britt, keep small groups, or second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gill. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Doc.
So the budget meeting we have on the 3rd at 4 o'clock p.m. It's not the same thing that we scheduled on the 10th.
One of them's a small group, the other one's full board.
Which one is our small group?
10th.
No, well, it was originally, Mr. Chairman,
That's council.
that was originally proposed to be
They
the,
ain't council.
I thought it said
well, that's
council.
what we're asking.
Yeah, the motion on the floor is to have.
Okay, but if I can maybe just clarify, the purpose of that meeting as originally intended was to present the proposed budget. To have a special meeting, as we've done in some years in the past, some years we do it at a regular meeting. But I know one thing that Mr. expressed at the last meeting, he had a conflict, so we really, it's up to you all, but I mean, we can.
I got a motion on the floor to continue with the meeting on the 10th. That's what Mr. Britt's motion was, and second by Mr. McGill.
But that was all, what you were gonna do at that meeting was present the budget.
It doesn't make any difference. I got a motion on the floor, we can either vote it up or down, and then make another motion or wherever you want to do it. Motion on the floor was to, am I correct, Mr. Britt? Am I correct? So, any more discussion, any discussion?
I just want to say,
Go ahead.
Mr. Hester, then I'll get you.
I've already relayed to some of the commissioners, the only thing is the transparency thing from some of the citizens that I have had contact with. They're just wanting to make sure that we're not doing something in these small groups that is not transparent. And it's not, we're not doing something behind the scenes or unethical.
Mr. Bullock?
I just want to say one thing that I like to hear from the commissioners when we have questions or statements. It's kind of difficult for someone to say what Mr. Ellis said in his group meeting and what I said in mine. So I like to hear directly from the commissioner as to their feelings about whatever issue that comes up. That's the only thing I like to say.
Any more discussion? So, we've been doing these things for a long time. I know the media has a problem with it, but that's their problem. It's not the commissioner's fault. It's information thing. No decisions are made. There's nothing hid. It's all, anytime there's a decision made, it's made with the full board at the budget meeting, so. Ms. Norrie?
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie.
No.
Mr. Britt.
Yes.
Mr. Bullock.
No.
Dr. Ellis.
Yes.
Mr. Hester.
No.
Mr. McGill,
Yes.
Dr. Mungowens,
No. I didn't hear what you're saying.
It's 4-4. So, Mr. Martin, I got a question. It was voted on and approved the 10th, for the 10th of May, last commissioner meeting. Has it been presented
It was
before?
presented back in February when we had our budget council.
And it was approved then?
That's right. There was not a set time, there was not a time established with it, but yes, sir. The 10th was.
What I'm
And
trying,
as the time to present the budget, the proposed budget.
so, it stays on the calendar, doesn't it?
Well, that's what, I mean, if there's no
It's
action.
4-4 tie.
But that was too, my understanding was that was a separate.
that was.
That was a motion to keep it on the calendar.
Okay. If I may just, I mean.
Help me.
Yeah, I'm trying to help myself, all of it, I'm trying to help myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm not quite clear on the request that's on the agenda was to cancel that meeting. The request, or the motion, as I heard it from Mr. Britt, was to have I think the way it was stated was to have a small group meetings, right? Which really at that point, it's going to be.
I understand that, but my question is, if it was already approved by this Board of Commissioners at some point in time, and it's a 4-4, so that don't take it off the calendar, does it?
Well, it was not the action as I understood. That
There's no action because it's 4-4.
But the motion was not to cancel. I mean, the motion was something totally different, is if I understood it correctly. Is that
So-
Right, so can I make the motion that we request that we cancel that meeting?
Well, that's where I think that's where I'm at. I'll entertain that motion, and if it's 4-4 again, then it stays on the agenda.
That's right, yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I want to clear.
Okay, I mean, I wanted to try to get clarification.
My understanding,
Are you gonna make a motion?
Thought we did I did not know that we agreed on the date of the small group. Because somebody told me before the last meeting that we had small groups. So how does this one go on here without, I mean, when did we schedule it?
This
You
is
said
not,
in February?
Dr. Mungowens, this was scheduled in February with the budget calendar when it was presented to you all as the meeting to present the proposed budget for the upcoming year.
Right.
Nothing about a small group, no. That's why I got confused when I heard the motion. As it was stated.
Right, it's not small group.
It was a small group one.
Well, it wasn't original, I mean,
It was not.
that's why I was getting confused, I was trying to get some.
I want to say something. I thought once we moved forward a moment ago and did the May 3rd meeting, that automatically negated the 10th meeting. That was my understanding about the line item right here. Is that not right?
No. Well-
It'd be regurgitation of the same information?
It's still trying to, I'm glad it's at least 2 weeks out before the proposed, I mean, really, in my mind, the fact that we scheduled this meeting for the May 3rd that we were trying to propose for the 26th makes it that much more important that we at least have until the second meeting in May for the proposed budget.
And the May 3rd is with the large group?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
To give us time to go
Like
back.
Rodney pointed out, I know everybody wants transparency. I mean, we're all trying to do that. It just,
I don't have a problem with that. What I'm saying is if this board voted to put it on this calendar, it's got to be voted off or it stands.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I can record.
So now I'll entertain a motion for Dr. Phil Mungowens if she wants to take it off.
But I guess my point again is, it wasn't a small group meeting. It was a special budget meeting. It wasn't designed a small meeting.
Well,
It makes,
however you want to make your motion, make it.
I thought, Mr. Martin, did you not want that move?
Yes, ma'am, that was the request.
Right, that was to move that meeting. But it was not a small group meeting.
It was not, I didn't understand it that way, no.
Yeah, it was a small piece.
Don't make a motion to cancel it.
I'll entertain a motion for, I can't do nothing with that. I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to cancel.
Motion by Mr. Gillespie, second by
Second.
Mr. Hester. Any discussion? Marie?
Mr. Peterson?
No.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
No.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
No.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Hang on, let me get my mind around.
But your request is to be removed,
Yeah.
so that we can, especially if we want to be on May 3rd, so we at least have it to the
17th, present.
For the proposal.
Maybe I'm misunderstood.
Yeah.
I need clarification.
He wants to go with 1 minute.
I mean, I'm all for the May, I don't want to speak out of turn, I'm all for the May 3rd large group, I'm happy with the camper for that. And I'm also happy with the small group because I felt like it was all the very same. I enjoyed my small group, very informative, so I'm confused as to what.
Ms. Marie?
I'm
Mr.
confused.
McGill?
No, I think, if I'm understanding this, I'm not sure, I think Dan.
Dr. Lynn Goins?
To cancel, yes.
So is that enough for? Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm not trying to, I just want to clarify, particularly like here, Dr. Ellis, if I may. I mean,
You're welcome.
okay.
Anything to help us.
There was nothing on here tonight on the action agenda as far as small group meetings. We're trying to schedule public meetings with full board. And that's why the first proposed date was April 26th, which is next Monday. Again, this is a time to share information with you all and to seek input from you all as we develop this proposed budget. That meeting was pushed back until May 3rd. Okay, the meeting that was scheduled for May 10th, back in February, we're requesting to, particularly Mr. Bullock said at the last meeting, he couldn't be here that day, we're requesting to just cancel that meeting and present the proposed budget during our regular meeting on May 17th. That's the only action we were asking for tonight. So the fact that 26th meeting got pushed back to May 3rd definitely makes it, in my mind, that much more important that we at least have the time, 2 weeks to get the information together.
That's kind of what I meant a minute ago, when we adopted, when we voted just a moment ago, AAA, to have the May 3rd meeting, it negated the 10th meeting.
No, it negated the proposed meeting that was scheduled for the 26th.
Okay, well,
The 10th meeting was originally scheduled as the presentation of the proposed budget for this upcoming year.
okay.
Which means I've got to have all my, listen, we've got to have all our
My fault.
T's crossed and I's dotted at that time.
Mr. Martin, I don't think you can do a budget meeting May the 3rd and with no further, we've had one short session on the budget. I don't know that one more meeting is gonna give you a final budget. We ain't talking about pay raises, there's a lot this board has not discussed, and I don't know that you can do that in one meeting.
And you may be right. The one good point that we can take some comfort in or whatever is that the proposed budget is just that. It's a proposed budget. And from there, we still have until the end of June for you all to get it just like like you all see fit. My point is, the more we can work in alignment together going into it at this time of year, the better we are from mid to late June. And that's what I was trying to, and we're all trying to work toward.
With further clarification, can I make a motion we forego the meeting on the 10th, just so we can break the stalemate?
I second that.
After your clarification, that's all that makes sense.
No, I don't have a problem, I don't know that I can do all that. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, sorry for my
No, what a rule was there, I'll be honest, I don't know.
As far as what?
Take another motion to suspend it, we just voted on it.
Well, there was no, there was no action taken on it. It didn't.
So that
We
means,
didn't win or, it didn't go, so
you just keep taking motion to something passes or fails, I mean,
I mean, we had clarification, I think.
I mean, really?
When we voted the last time, 3 of us were confused of what we were voting on.
That's fine, I just want to make sure I'm kind of halfway straight, I mean, I'll entertain the motion.
Okay. Not-
Is there a second?
Mr. Bullock, second.
Mr. Bullock, second. Any discussion?
What was the motion?
To suspend the May 10th, May 10th meeting, right?
If I understand right, Mr. Martin, that would help y'all.
It particularly since we're not going to meet until May 3rd again.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, we really, if we meet May 3rd, we should really just leave this on the calendar and deal with it next month in case we don't finish May the 3rd. But, Marie?
Mr. Peterson?
No.
Mr. Gillespie? Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Mungowens?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I never faced all this, right? That's what we got.
Mr. Chairman, I entertain the motion that we adjourn.
No, not through. Okay. Individual delegation wish to address commissioners. Matters of interest to commissioner, you want to have anything at the end?
One thing,
I
Chair,
found my notes.
Hold on a minute.
I know it's over 4 months away. I just kind of wanted to put it out there so we can begin thinking about it. This will mark 20 years of 9/11, and rather than letting the citizens begin to plan something to honor that, and I think it would be good if the leadership of the county would take the lead in that. If we wait much longer, there'll probably be some other things.
Okay. You volunteered?
I loved it.
I help.
Wonderful, brother.
Who else?
I'll help you with everything.
What is it?
All right, we'll have a special, we'll have a small group meeting.
Comment.
We're gonna put Mike.
So, we'll figure some way for us.
We
It's
take
hard.
it to ball.
We don't need all the commissioners for them, say we can't meet.
As quickly as
Cameron wants to, this is 20 years of 9/11, he thought it'd be a good thing for the leadership of the county to, take the lead in a celebration. And we can't have no more full commissioners.
I hope it's remembering, not celebrating, but to remember it, memorial. Okay, thank you.
So, okay. 4 commissioners all we can have now, because we can't meet. Okay. Cameron's gonna take the lead on that. Dr. O.T. Mungowens, you found your notes?
Yeah, I did. I apologize. I was asking Mr. Martin if there's any comments or any concerns about air quality in the building of the county. The reason I received a couple of texts and 2 calls, and they had to remind me they called me before about this issue, and I forgot. But they had some concerns about the health and the air quality and possibly mold at the DMV building. Has that been addressed? Or have you had any other concerns or have you seen any concerns about that?
At the airport?
Yeah, at the airport.
At the airport?
Yes. At the,
I haven't personally, but I've talked with Chuck Eustace. He manages that. Bladen's Blooming Agri-Industrial manages that property, and I'll talk with him tomorrow.
Okay, and I heard that the comment or request for assistance had already gone to the state.
Okay, I'll check on that. I'm not sure.
The state. Can you find out if that is true as well?
He will
I
follow.
will, yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
be glad to.
He said
Thank you so much.
he'd be glad to. Anything
Thank
else?
you.
Anything else? Anyone? So, Mr. Martin, you got to follow up on the EMS letter we sent to the Lisbon Fire Department about staging our ambulance down there.
I will call it. We have not received any.
That's cool. Just follow up with it. And for your information, I think it was in your packet. I think it was. If it's not, I'll give you a copy of mine. Just mine. So, I use my letterhead to send a letter to Representative Grissom, Bill Raven, Richard Burr, Tom Tillis, and David Rouser and Dan Bishop. I was approached by Dr. Lee at the community college. There's some pork belly money supposedly out there, and they wanted to revisit the driving ban. So just for your information, I did use my letterhead to sign off on it. Dr. Lee signed off on it, and Sheriff McVicker. Just for your information, so I'll be transparent. Any questions, any comments? I'll entertain your motion, Mr. Bullock.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second. Ms. Morris. Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie.
Yes.
Mr. Britt.
Yes.
Mr. Bullock.
Yes.
Dr. Ellis.
Yes.
Mr. Pastor. Mr. McGill.
Yes.
Dr. Mongolins.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night.
Thursday.